In a land of samurai where honor and power defined every warrior, one man from Africa broke the mold, becoming not just a soldier but a legend. His name was Yasuke, and his journey defied every expectation. How did a former slave far from his homeland rise to become the only African samurai in Japan's history? This is a story that redefines history, one that mixes the raw force of battle with the quiet strength of a man who carved his own place in a foreign land. But beyond the blade, there is something deeper about Yasuke's tale. You may have heard of samurai, those iconic warriors who embodied discipline and honor. But Yasuke was no ordinary samurai. Unlike his Japanese counterparts, his skin was dark, his language foreign, and his history marked by struggle. Yet, against all odds, he became one of the most trusted warriors under the legendary warlord Oda Nobunaga. How did Yasuke, born in the vast lands of Africa, find himself in the midst of Japan's Sengoku period, one of the most violent and transformative times in Japanese history? Yasuke's journey is more than just a historical anomaly. It is a testament to resilience of a man who navigated the complexities of race, culture, and power during a time when Japan was divided and at war. His arrival wasn't just about joining the military, it was about fighting for identity and honor in a foreign land. What started as a mysterious appearance at Nobunaga's court soon evolved into an unforgettable legacy. So as we unravel Yasuke's incredible story, think of him not as a mere footnote in history, but as a warrior who shattered boundaries, a man whose presence transcended race, time, and culture, one who left a lasting mark on Japan and the world. His story isn't just about war, it's about defying the odds and creating a legacy that would endure. Before we begin, let me ask something of you, not just as a viewer, but as a witness. As you listen, feel, let these names stir something in you, and when it's over, reflect on which parts of Yasuke's journey resonate with your own sense of justice and honor. Subscribe to not just follow, but to witness stories that refuse to be forgotten. Like this video as a tribute to those who've carved their own path through history. And if Yasuke's story speaks to you, share it with someone who believes that true warriors are never defined by where they come from, but by what they stand for. Now, let the journey begin. The year was 1579, and Japan was in the throes of the Sengoku period, a time of fierce military conflict and political upheaval. It was a time when warlords battled for supremacy, and power was held by the sword. Into this world, a foreigner stepped, a man whose presence would shake the foundations of Japanese society. He was Yasuke, a towering figure who had traveled across the globe, from the vast, unfamiliar lands of Africa to the mysterious shores of Japan. Yasuke's arrival in Japan wasn't marked by the usual ceremonial process reserved for foreign dignitaries. No, his entry into the country was the result of a curious and fateful series of events. He had come as part of a Jesuit missionary mission, led by an Italian priest named Alessandro Valignano, who was trying to bridge the gap between Japan and the Catholic world. But Yasuke wasn't a typical missionary. He was a man of extraordinary physical stature, his dark skin and African heritage setting him apart in a land where such features were unheard of. He had the aura of someone who didn't belong, yet there was something undeniably captivating about him. At first, the Japanese people who saw him were taken aback. His towering height, his dark skin, and the strange accent with which he spoke, these were all things that immediately marked him as an outsider. People gawked, whispered, and stared, trying to make sense of this imposing figure. But there was one person in Japan who wasn't intimidated by the strange and unfamiliar. Oda Nobunaga, the ambitious warlord who was in the midst of uniting Japan under his rule. Nobunaga wasn't like the others. He wasn't concerned with Yasuke's appearance. Instead, he saw something else in the man: strength, discipline, and the potential to be something more than just a curiosity. In a moment that would change the course of both Yasuke's life and history, Yasuke and Nobunaga came face to face. Nobunaga had heard about the giant African man who had arrived at his court, and he was intrigued. The first meeting between the two was electric, Yasuke's imposing presence in stark contrast to Nobunaga's sharp intellect. The warlord didn't see a mere servant or exotic specimen. He saw a man of power and substance. Yasuke wasn't just a curiosity to Nobunaga. He was a warrior, and Nobunaga recognized that instantly. What followed was a dramatic shift in Yasuke's fate. What had started as an improbable, almost accidental meeting in the court of a powerful warlord soon evolved into something far greater. Yasuke was no longer just a figure of mystery. He was now a part of Japan's most powerful military family, and this was only the beginning of his incredible rise to power. The moment Yasuke stepped into Oda Nobunaga's presence, everything changed. In a world dominated by fierce warriors and shifting alliances, one man's curiosity and vision would set the stage for a story unlike any other. Nobunaga, a man known for his unyielding ambition and desire for power, wasn't just intrigued by the foreigner's appearance. He was fascinated by his strength, his presence, and the promise of something more. Yasuke wasn't just a man of unusual origins. He was someone who could change the course of history. Nobunaga's ability to see beyond the surface was one of his greatest traits. He had already built a reputation for embracing the unexpected, breaking tradition in a way that no other warlord dared. He wasn't swayed by Yasuke's dark skin or foreign accent. Instead, he recognized the warrior within. And so, in a move that defied the norms of the time, Nobunaga welcomed Yasuke into his inner circle. But this wasn't just an act of kindness, it was strategic. Nobunaga knew that warriors like Yasuke, who brought with them unique skills and unyielding loyalty, could tip the scales of power in his favor. The samurai code known as Bushido had always been a world where bloodlines, honor, and reputation meant everything. For Yasuke, a man born far from the confines of Japanese tradition, this code was foreign. Yet, as Nobunaga's ally, he was thrust into this world, a world where only the strongest survived. Yasuke's raw power and unparalleled loyalty made him a figure who soon earned the respect of those who had once regarded him as nothing more than a curiosity. The legend of Yasuke grew not just within the walls of Nobunaga's court, but on the battlefield as well. In time, Yasuke became more than just a symbol of Nobunaga's open-mindedness. He became a trusted warrior, fighting in key battles alongside Japan's greatest military leader. But Yasuke's rise was about more than just martial prowess. It was about the breaking down of barriers. In a culture where status and tradition were rigidly defined, Yasuke stood as proof that honor didn't have to come from birth or background. It could come from heart, from loyalty, from strength. And so Yasuke, the man who had once been seen as an outsider, began to carve out his place within the very heart of Japan's power structure. Nobunaga's faith in him was a turning point, not just for Yasuke, but for all of Japan. A foreigner had become one of Japan's own, breaking the mold of what it meant to be a true samurai. As Yasuke stood by Nobunaga's side, the question of his true worth was no longer asked. He had proven time and time again that courage and honor transcended skin color, nationality, and background. Yasuke had earned his place among the greatest warriors in Japan, and that was only the beginning of his extraordinary journey. As Yasuke's presence in Nobunaga's court grew, so too did his reputation on the battlefield. What began as an unusual curiosity blossomed into a vital military asset. He was no longer just a foreigner from Africa. He had become a full-fledged samurai, earning his place among Japan's finest warriors. To many, Yasuke was a symbol of the power of honor and loyalty, showing that these ideals weren't confined to bloodlines or race, but could be claimed by anyone willing to fight for them. The transformation of Yasuke from an outsider to a trusted warrior was nothing short of remarkable. In a society where the samurai code demanded unwavering loyalty and unmatched skill in battle, Yasuke proved himself time and again. He didn't simply adopt the ways of the samurai, he embraced them. From the moment Nobunaga recognized his worth, Yasuke's life took a turn that many could only dream of. He was given the honor of donning the katana and hakama, symbols of the samurai class, as he joined Nobunaga's elite forces in battle. What set Yasuke apart from the other samurai wasn't just his size or strength, although these traits were certainly impressive. It was his unrelenting loyalty to Nobunaga. In an era marked by backstabbing, shifting allegiances, and betrayals, Yasuke's steadfast devotion was something rare. His presence in battle was more than just physical. He embodied the very spirit of Bushido, the way of the warrior. He fought not only for Nobunaga, but for the ideals that Nobunaga stood for: unity, strength, and the ambition to change the very fabric of Japan. Yasuke's combat prowess was tested in numerous skirmishes and battles. His strength and agility made him a formidable opponent, one who could go toe-to-toe with the fiercest warriors in Japan. But what truly solidified his role in the army was the trust he had built with Nobunaga. In a world where samurai were revered for their fighting skills and strategic minds, Yasuke quickly proved himself indispensable. He wasn't just a fighter, he was a trusted companion, a bodyguard, and a symbol of Nobunaga's open-mindedness and progressive approach to leadership. But despite the respect Yasuke earned on the battlefield, his status was still a source of tension among the other samurai. His foreign origins, his race, and his rise through the ranks unsettled many. Some questioned whether a man of his background could ever truly belong in the sacred ranks of the samurai. But Yasuke didn't seek their approval. He didn't need validation from those who had grown up with the customs and traditions of Japan. His worth was shown in his actions, on the battlefield, in the service of his lord, and in the respect he commanded from those who fought beside him. As Yasuke stood in the heart of Nobunaga's army, it was clear that his journey wasn't just about wielding a sword. It was about proving that greatness could come from any place, from any background. He had transcended the limitations imposed by his birth, his race, and his past. Yasuke had become more than a warrior. He had become a living testament to the idea that the true measure of a samurai wasn't where you came from, but where you were willing to go. In 1582, Yasuke faced a turning point that would etch his name forever into the annals of history. The Battle of Tenmokuzan was not just another skirmish in the Sengoku period. It was a defining moment, a clash that would test the mettle of all who fought. Nobunaga, Yasuke's lord and trusted friend, was locked in a fierce battle to solidify his power and claim a united Japan. Yasuke, a towering figure with unmatched strength, fought alongside Nobunaga's forces, his loyalty unwavering. But this was no ordinary fight. It was a battle where every warrior's resolve would be tested. On the battlefield, Yasuke's presence was undeniable. His height and fierce determination made him a formidable opponent. And as he fought beside the samurai, he was a symbol of Nobunaga's forward-thinking vision, strength, loyalty, and unity beyond the boundaries of race and origin. It was in these fierce moments of conflict that Yasuke truly embodied the samurai spirit. His bravery was indisputable, and in the heat of battle, he proved time and again that he was as much a part of Nobunaga's army as any born into the samurai class. But the Battle of Tenmokuzan wasn't where the real test of Yasuke's loyalty and courage would unfold. That moment came later, under far darker and more treacherous circumstances. The fall of Nobunaga came swiftly and with devastating treachery. In a story of betrayal that shook Japan to its core, Nobunaga was attacked by his own ally, Akechi Mitsuhide. The Battle of Honnoji, which would go down in history as one of the most infamous betrayals, marked the end of Nobunaga's reign. Surrounded by forces loyal to Mitsuhide, Nobunaga was forced into a desperate situation. The once mighty warlord, whose ambition had seemed unstoppable, was cornered and left with no way out. At the moment of Nobunaga's death, Yasuke's loyalty was unshakable. He stood with his master, fighting to the very end, knowing the stakes had never been higher. But Nobunaga's fate was sealed, and with it, Yasuke's future was thrown into turmoil. The fall of his lord marked not only the end of an era for Japan, but also the end of Yasuke's place in the army he had fought for. After Nobunaga's death, Yasuke was captured by Mitsuhide's forces, his future uncertain. He was stripped of his samurai title and disarmed. The towering warrior, once a symbol of power and loyalty, was now just another prisoner in a land torn apart by betrayal. However, Yasuke's journey didn't end in the hands of Mitsuhide. The Jesuit missionaries with whom Yasuke had first arrived in Japan soon intervened. With Nobunaga's death leaving Japan in chaos, the missionaries offered Yasuke protection, and he was eventually freed from captivity. Yasuke, now displaced and without a master, found himself back in the hands of those who had first brought him to Japan, the Jesuits. It was a bittersweet turn of events for Yasuke, a warrior who had fought so valiantly for his lord, now lost in a foreign land with little to return to. His story doesn't end in Japan. After his release, Yasuke's life is shrouded in mystery. There are no records of him ever returning to the battlefield or achieving any further military glory. What became of Yasuke after the fall of Nobunaga remains unclear, but it is believed he lived out the rest of his days under the protection of the Jesuits. He became a footnote in a world that had moved on from the days of warlords and samurai. Despite the uncertainty of his later life, Yasuke's legacy endured. He had defied the odds, proved his worth as a warrior, and shown the world that greatness could come from anywhere, even from a foreign land. His story, though forgotten by many, still echoes today as a powerful reminder of the human spirit's ability to overcome all boundaries, no matter how insurmountable they may seem. Yasuke's story is one of transformation, a tale that defies the limitations of time, culture, and race. His presence in Japan had a profound cultural impact, challenging deeply ingrained perceptions about foreigners. In the heart of the samurai world, a place defined by rigid traditions and an almost insurmountable barrier between the insiders and the outsiders, Yasuke shattered these boundaries. His rise from a slave to a trusted warrior demonstrated that the ideals of loyalty, honor, and bravery weren't confined to the Japanese elite. For many in Japan, Yasuke represented an unexpected truth, that greatness could come from anywhere. Yasuke's influence wasn't just a fleeting moment, it laid the groundwork for a subtle shift in how foreigners were viewed in Japan. While the country remained insular for much of its history, the fact that a man from Africa had become one of Japan's own showed that cultural exchange was possible. Though he was never fully accepted as one of the native samurai, Yasuke's success as a warrior forced people to reconsider what made a samurai truly worthy. Was it birthright? Was it skill? Or was it something more, something that transcended skin color, nationality, and past? In the broader historical context, Yasuke's story also holds a significant place in African history. For African people, Yasuke represents one of the few instances where a man of African descent achieved a measure of fame and respect in a distant land. His journey shows that African men and women have always been part of global history, often in ways that have been overlooked or forgotten. Yasuke was not only a fighter, he was a pioneer, a testament to the idea that African people were not confined to the margins of history, but had an active role in shaping the world, even in places where their presence was unexpected. But Yasuke's legacy doesn't end in the distant past. In the modern era, his story is being rediscovered, sparking renewed interest across the world. In recent years, media portrayals of Yasuke have resurfaced, with films, books, and even animated series bringing his extraordinary tale to a wider audience. His story has become a symbol of resilience and cultural bridging, showing how history can be rewritten when forgotten stories are brought to light. The fascination with Yasuke continues to grow, with historians and pop culture creators alike using his life as a lens to explore themes of identity, race, and the universal desire for recognition. Moreover, Yasuke's story challenges us to reconsider the narratives of marginalized people throughout history. In a world where African and minority histories are often overlooked, Yasuke's legacy serves as a powerful reminder that these stories are just as important as any other. His life invites us to question the very idea of belonging, reminding us that anyone, regardless of race or origin, has the potential to leave a lasting mark on history. Yasuke's journey from a slave in Africa to a warrior in Japan stands as proof that true strength lies in resilience, loyalty, and the ability to challenge the world as we know it. Today, Yasuke's legacy endures, not just as a historical figure, but as an ongoing symbol of defying expectations. He has become a modern icon, representing the timeless struggle of outsiders seeking acceptance and recognition. From his days in Nobunaga's court to his place in today's media and historical discourse, Yasuke's story remains as powerful and relevant as ever. Yasuke's story is a testament to the incredible power of defiance, defying expectations, defying race, and defying history itself. From the vast lands of Africa to the heart of feudal Japan, his journey remains a captivating reminder that greatness is not bound by the limits imposed by the world around us. Yasuke, the African samurai, was more than a foreigner in a foreign land. He was a symbol of resilience, loyalty, and honor, a man who transcended the barriers of culture, language, and race to earn his place alongside the greatest warriors in history. Though his name may have faded into the background of history for centuries, the truth of his legacy remains undeniable. Yasuke's story serves as an inspiration to us all, proving that it's not where you come from, but who you choose to become that defines your legacy. His tale reminds us that the world is full of untold stories, stories that break the mold, defy conventions, and challenge the very idea of what it means to be a hero. As we reflect on the life of Yasuke, we are reminded that his journey is not just a piece of history, it is a living testament to the strength of the human spirit. A man who came from a distant land, who faced overwhelming odds, and who, against all expectations, carved out a place for himself in the annals of history. Yasuke's legacy is one that transcends time, reminding us that the boundaries of culture, race, and background are mere illusions when compared to the power of honor, loyalty, and the will to stand tall against the odds. Before we finish, take a moment to reflect on this story. Yasuke's journey is a reflection of our own potential to overcome, to fight for what is right, and to leave our mark on the world. It's a story that still speaks to us today in every struggle for justice, every challenge against adversity, and every act of courage. Yasuke's story isn't just a chapter in history. It's a call to action, a reminder to stand firm and embrace the power that lies within us all. So if Yasuke's story has stirred something in you, if it has ignited a spark of inspiration or a sense of wonder, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with others. Share the story of a man who defied the odds and became a legend. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you can continue to discover more incredible, untold stories that shape our world. Thank you for watching, and remember, the greatest stories are the ones that remind us of our own potential to change the world.